Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome to the video. My name is Chase Chewning. If you are new to the channel, first of all, thank you for hopping on. If you enjoy this content, you're gonna get a little bit of this, as well as some vlogs and some topical videos about entrepreneurship, the military, men's lifestyle, tutorials, reviews, things like that. That's just who I am. That's my story, and so that's the content you can expect to hear and see on this YouTube channel. If you're new, go ahead and do me a favor and yourself a favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help the channel and really does give me good feedback on the content that you want more of. Let's go. Shout out Star City, drinking coffee out of my Roanoke, Virginia mug, my hometown. Anybody else from the Nook, let me know. Today's video is all about how I went from active duty soldier to full-time entrepreneur, full-time influencer. But let me go ahead and kind of just, got two cameras rolling here. I got to focus on which one, I don't know. Anyways, influencer, when it comes to that word, I don't really think of myself as an influencer. Yes, some of the marketing and the work that I do is under the umbrella of social media influencer marketing, I guess, but I don't really think of myself as an influencer. I think of someone who went through a period of time, went through a series of jobs, pretty much all under the same topic of health and wellness, the same profession, and then eventually just wound up doing it for himself. And along that way, social media became a big part of how I worked, with who I worked, and just kind of like the network. It was the network, my conference, my LinkedIn before I really started using LinkedIn, just my immediate access to ideas and people and sharing concepts and things like that. So I don't really think of myself as an influencer. Just want to put that out there, but entitling this video, I had to come up with something better than full-time army guy turned YouTuber turned Snapchatter turned Instagrammer turned podcaster turned online coach turned all these things. I would fill up the whole title block and probably get kicked off of YouTube. But I wanted to just spend some time, again, if you're new to the channel, describing my journey. And if you're an OG, I appreciate you for coming back. I took a little bit of a hiatus from YouTube just because of life and other things, which I will get into. But let's go back to the beginning. At 17 years old, I enlisted in the United States Army, continuing on a long tradition of family service. My father was in the Army, my uncle, my grandfather, his father, and so on and so forth, for decades and decades and generations. And I was at a time in my life where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. The whole concept of going to college just seemed like what you're supposed to do. And I went to a very, very small private school, shout out again, Roanoke, Virginia, and everyone was doing it. It was very, very academic driven. It was a very, very hard school, and everyone was going to college. Everyone was applying, and I thought about some things that maybe interested in me and things that I could go pursue, could go spend 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars on. But it just never really like latched onto my soul, you know? Nothing just was just like, Chase, this is what you will do with your life. I didn't have passion yet. I didn't have a overwhelming sense of something that fulfilled me. And thank God I had a little bit of awareness around that instead of just going to waste time and waste money. Not that college is a waste of time or money, but at that time I thought it was, because I would rather pursue something that I at least had an interest in and made sense to me. And so I leaned on the military. I first pursued the Air Force, but they just couldn't guarantee a job that I was interested in, your MOS. And then the Army kind of came knocking. Literally, I was walking out of the recruiter's office. It was all under one building back in Roanoke, and the Army literally stopped me in my tracks. Shout out Staff Sergeant Rue. At the time, he was an E6, which oddly enough, that's what I was when I got out of the Army, E6 Staff Sergeant. And he really courted me. He wooed me in a big way, and he really just was totally honest. I think so. I know recruiters can get kind of shady sometimes because, look, you're in a sales job, right? You got quotas to hit. I get it. That's so good. This is not a promo video. This is not a sponsored video. I'm drinking Strong coffee. Now, they are a partner of mine over on my podcast, and I promote them whenever and wherever because that's just how I roll. Again, that's not my typical influencer model, but when there's something that I like and people that I like and things that I love, like this strong coffee, real coffee with collagen and MCTs and L-theanine, it's so good. You can get 20% off if you want strong coffee. Code CHASE at strongcoffeecompany.com. Again, this is not a sponsored video. I'm just drinking amazing coffee and thought maybe you would like to try it out as well and save some money, all right? So at 17 years old, I enlisted. I went into the delayed entry program, DEPS as it is called, and I swore in my Christmas break in my senior year of high school, and I spent the next about 8 to 10 months finishing high school, training. I began to run. I began to do like weekly PT with my recruiters and other delayed entry people, and I began to run some more and run some more and run some more. And I began to just pick the brain of my dad more of, hey, what can you expect in boot camp? And he was a great resource for me. And I felt very, very prepared going into the military. I, of course, was just, I wouldn't say scared, but I mean, it is very, very accurate, at least when I went in 2003, of just yelling and screaming and go, 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 and weapons and explosions and no sleep, and you're always moving and lots of gear and just low crawling through shit and barbed wire, and but also camaraderie and also team building and also seeing what you are capable of both physically and mentally. I really felt like I was really prepared, and shout out again to my dad for kind of helping me through all that, as well as Sergeant Rue. I knew that it was going to be very, very physically demanding. But I felt prepared. Like I said, I was training, I was running, I was going to the gym. I was a 17-year-old kid and had lots of energy. And so I felt very prepared going into boot camp. I went to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, Fort Lost in the Wood as we call it. And anyways, it was towards the tail end of summer. It was miserably hot. I had a great time. Honestly, I would go back. If I had to go back and do it all over again, absolutely. It was a great time, had a blast. It really did show me what I was capable of, again, physically and mentally. And it was just a great time. I met people in there that I still talk to, not every day, but periodically, you know, through social media and Instagram and Facebook. And those are memories and those are relationships that will last a lifetime. There's just something unbreakable about the people you meet in the military, whether it's boot camp, your first duty station, or if you go down range, you're on a TDY or whatever. The experiences you have all over the world, doing the most unique jobs in the world, serving a greater cause, whether you agree with the political climate or not. You don't get that choice anymore when you enlist or you serve, commission officer or whatever. You're serving your country. And those people are some of the best people I've ever encountered in my entire life. And I can go years and years without talking to them or seeing them, and go meet them for coffee, maybe a strong coffee, right? And just pick right back up. It's amazing. So that's my origin story of going into the military. I went through a series of tests and aptitude tests and went into the military intelligence field. I became a linguist. I became a military intelligence analyst with language. Now, I don't know why I chose to do a language job, because shout out Mrs. Clark if you ever watch this video, and Mrs. Knight, actually, my two high school language instructors. Mrs. Clark taught Spanish and Mrs. Knight taught Latin. I had to repeat Latin, which is very difficult. I don't think anyone would disagree that it's a very difficult language. Why were we learning it in middle school and high school? Again, I went to a very, very small, highly academic driven middle school and high school, so you can understand. I had to repeat Latin, and Mrs. Clark, just so that I could not be an idiot come like my junior and senior year, I actually did Spanish summer school. Who does Spanish summer school? Idiots do. That's harsh. People who do repeat language for like lower language, you know, not that difficult, like a class 3, like Spanish or Italian or something like that, you should not be choosing a job where that's going to be your job. But you know what? Full credit to the military and how they teach you. So I went through a series of aptitude tests. I went through the ASVAB, the D-Lab. ASVAB is what everybody takes just to get in, and depending upon how you score in that, it opens up certain jobs for you to then apply for. So I did well enough on the ASVAB, and then I went into the DLAB, the Defense Language Aptitude Battery, and that opened up for several different criteria jobs, and I scored high enough to get a language. Now this was not my choice, but depending upon how you score in this test, and the DLAB is one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my entire life. I don't know how I passed that test. Maybe I'll do a whole other video on the DLAB if you guys would be interested. Let me know if you've taken the DLAB or you want to know how to prepare for it. I've like blocked it out of my memory. It was so difficult, but how I scored was good enough to place me in Russia. Well, not Russia, but Russian language. And so then I spent the next year, about a year and a half, I got delayed because actually during that time my father passed away and I had to go home and I was on emergency leave, wound up missing a lot of class, and I missed a part of my final exam, so I had to retest and it was this big kind of process. But long story short, I was special. We all know now because of my background with language training, and I wound up having to extend a little bit, and then I retested it and that was all good, and then went on to my training. So that's what I did for the next, I had a contract for 6 years, and I won't go into detail in this video, but I wound up actually getting really injured, significantly injured in preparation for a deployment, and wound up getting medically discharged, in fact medically retired out of the military because of the nature of my injuries were so severe. That's a whole other video. I'll link that down in the comments below or in the description box below of why I got kicked out of the Army, and you guys can go check that out. So that's what I did, and then after that process, and actually it's an important part of my story because if it were not for that injury or those string of injuries, I don't think I would have developed such a curiousness for the human body and the human potential and what is possible. And so during my rehab, and I had a lot of rehab time. I was a patient for about a year and a half. I became very fascinated and curious of what's going on with my body right now. I may not be able to do what I used to be able to do, but I can probably do something, right? I can fix my nutrition, or I can learn, I can read, I can get better up here, I can improve my immune health, my gut health, reduce inflammation. I can learn, right? I can't do, but I can learn. And that sparked a huge curiousness for me, a newfound passion, if you will, for health and wellness and the human potential. So got out of the military 2009, was medically retired as an E6 staff sergeant. Here I was still 23. I was just about to turn 24, maybe just 2 months later. And I was just this kid, and I was having to re-establish my identity, re-establish a life. I was going home to a family that had just lost we just lost my father, and so I was trying to just pick up where I left off, and went through this unreal transition that I only now, years later, I've been out for 10 years now, have only been able to reflect back on and really look at, wow, you went through a lot. Transition is a lot. Anyone getting out of the military can attest. If you don't fully prepare for it, this is actually a video I want to do as well, like where I really think the military is failing, where we as a society and veterans organizations are failing transitioning military members. Because in my coaching business, I work with a lot of military personnel. I work with a lot of ROTC cadets, I work with a lot of active duty, I work with a lot of veterans. And just to hear that transition, there's so many holes that need to be plugged. That's a big area where I want to help as much as possible. And so, like I said, I developed this passion for health and wellness, and I just realized that I can't really do, but I can learn. So I went to school. I went back to Virginia, went to Virginia Commonwealth University, went up to Richmond, Virginia, and studied exercise science. That was my bachelor's program. I graduated in 2013, and in that process, I realized that, wow, like you can do a lot with this. It's not just a personal trainer. It's not just corporate wellness. It's not just boot camp. It's not just all one thing, but you can do a lot. And so I went through a series of jobs. I went into corporate wellness. I went into personal training, group exercise instructor, outdoor boot camp classes, corporate wellness. Did I already say corporate wellness? I can't remember. I don't know. And then I landed in a job where I was a health coach. Well, we eventually became certified health coaches, but at the time we were just wellness specialists. And so I was able to apply my undergrad. At the time I was going to grad school. I just started this new job, just started going to grad school for health promotion at American University up in Washington, D.C. And I really thought that was going to be my career. And this was all around 2013, 14, about 2014. And this is when social media kind of became a thing, or people in my world, my brother, my friends, just began to do it with a different intention and began to do it for more than just wild drunken nights on Snapchat on the weekend, or posting up a picture of the park with a cool filter on Instagram. People began to realize that, hey, there's something more to this. There's a business opportunity. And that piqued another area of curiousness for me. So I got on board. I started picking up a camera. I started filming on my iPhone. I started doing vlogs on my iPhone and posting to YouTube. I began going about social media with intention. I began watching and learning and observing, and then also being a part of other people's videos and content back in, like I said, 2013, 14, when nobody was really doing it full time. It wasn't, hey, I'm a vlogger, hey, I'm a YouTuber, hey, I'm an Instagram influencer. A few people, but it wasn't a thing yet. And so I began to develop a little bit of steam, call it a little maybe early adopter. And I realized that it was very, very fun. I loved getting the feedback and engagement from other people all over the world. And then fast forward to about 2015-ish, when, like I said, my family, we lost our father. And our father had this mantra, this creed, this saying of ever forward, ever forward, ever forward. And we decided, my brother and I decided that, hey, there's something more to this. We have something here. There's this amazing, profound message that really should be shared with the world. And also, looking back on it, I think it was a way for us to really work through that loss, because if we can lean on others, and if we can open up and become a little vulnerable and share this loss and just maybe help somebody else and also have somebody else help us in the process, what a great way to honor him. What a great way to continue this legacy. So it became more than just, hey, let me, walk around with a camera. Hey, let me, post, on Snapchat. Hey, let me log in and out of my personal and private and business accounts on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. Let me actually, through this lens of intentionality and purpose and meaning, let me just see what's possible. And it took off. And Ever Forward just became so well received, and then it kind of made me realize there's way more to this than even I thought possible, or my family thought possible. And so then fast forward to still working in my jobs, and I'm now getting promoted, and I'm becoming a full-blown wellness director. I worked my way up the ranks in this company, and I was like, there's more, there's more, there's more. I began to collaborate more with other YouTubers. I began to see the potential of what was going on, and I began to just stay curious. And I upgraded to a camera and multiple different cameras, and I began to experiment with things that I just liked in my life, and I shared them. Back in DC, being very kind of cut and clean cut, and button downs and khakis and loafers, and just being very East Coast was my thing, So I started filming a lot of men's style review videos, representing brands and clothes and stuff that I really liked. I began doing a lot of book reviews and talking about the military, and just realizing that, wow, there are a lot of things in my life that I think I could bring to light. I think that other people would be interested in. And here we are. February 3rd, when I'm filming this, 2020, and I first picked up a camera, my iPhone, and would borrow my brother's camera from time to time. Back, it's been like 5 years, 5 years. And I had no idea the potential of the snowball that could keep building and growing and growing. And, I kind of just really did it for fun. I think at most in a year off of YouTube, I've made definitely not more than $1,000. Definitely not. But it just opened up other doors for opportunity. I began to grow my Instagram. Podcasts became the biggest learning platform for me on my commute back in DC to this job, where someone introduced the word podcast, and they recommended this health and wellness show, and I began to just go all ears. I began to really listen every day, all day, became obsessed. And then audiobooks and personal development and self-help and fitness and nutrition and all these things that, wow, I could keep learning more about, and then immediately go apply and be better at my job and help other people lose weight, get stronger, clean up their eating habits, just become healthier, more optimized human beings. They showed up better at their job, showed up better in their relationships. They showed up better for themselves. And it was all because of social media. And it was all because of cameras and iPhones and the internet and Instagram and YouTube. And then I got the idea of podcast. Like, hey, if I'm listening to this content and it's making me this much better, this much more informed, what if I was actually the one doing the interview instead of me just listening, ears on, as we used to call it in the military? That's what I did a lot of in the military. It was just, I could tell you more about how to kill you. Anyways, and so I found it very, very cool that I could do a job that I could talk a lot about, and I could bring my work home and I could research. You can't do that when you're working in the military intelligence field. I had the highest clearance you could get, and I worked in a building with no phones and no windows, and it's called a SCIF, a secured compartmentalized information facility, and you go in and you leave the outside world on the outside, and you don't hear about it, see daylight, for hours and hours and hours later. I did some cool things, all around the world. Was in Germany and Czech Republic, and based out of Germany. And then we did some cool things over in Eastern Europe and stuff, working with British forces, special forces, special American forces, English forces, just joint forces command all over the world. Again, met amazing people, and it really, I think that job, where I'm going with the whole social media thing, it showed me that there is more out there. There is a whole world of other people and other ideas and other concepts out there. And when we come together and bring all of our agendas together, when we bring humankind's agendas together of how do we just become better human beings, better countries, better neighborhoods, better communities, better individuals, better families, it all came to a head. And I realized that I want to start a podcast. I want to be the one picking the brains of these people. I want to be the one asking the questions. I want to be the one getting to know these people and building relationships instead of just listening, on the treadmill with my earbuds or in the car. And that's exactly what I did. So I got the idea. It took me a while to figure out how to do it, how to record, how to edit, which mics to use. Luckily, I had an uncle that worked for Sirius XM Radio, and he walked me through a lot of this stuff to get going. And then on January 22nd, 2017, the anniversary actually of our dad's passing, I launched Ever Forward Radio. Like I said, Ever Forward was his family mantra, and it made sense to live a life ever forward. It was all the things that I was learning about, was all the things that I was doing in my life already. I learned how to walk again twice after being injured. I learned how to reestablish an identity. I learned how to go to college. I learned how to balance school and work and relationships. And I learned all of these things because of social media and applying these two words, so applying Ever Forward to it. And that's really what I hope you all take away, is that just doing something aimlessly, it's not really going to work out. Yes, you got to put the content in, you got to get the reps in, you got to do the work. No one's just going to walk in and say, hey, post this picture, let me give you $5,000. You're sadly misinformed. I put in years and years of work, hundreds and hundreds of episodes, hundreds and hundreds of videos. And fast forward now, here we are 3+ years later on the podcast, which is my biggest platform. We're about 1.1 million downloads, which is insane when you think about it. If you're watching this and listening, thank you. If you're a listener of the show, Ever Forward Radio, I appreciate you. You can find us on every podcast platform out there. It's just amazing. And that helped me grow the social media. And then late 2017, I realized that I want to do this full time. I want to take everything that I learned in the military. I want to take all the discipline and the focus and the personal integrity that the military taught me, and the work ethic and the curiousness, and combined with my bachelor's of exercise science and my master's of health promotion and all the certifications and all the things that the corporate world took me, I was sitting on a mound of information, this wealth of knowledge that I just needed to get out in my own unique way. And so I really hope that you hear that you can do whatever you want, you can create whatever you want, but look back and reflect on, all right, what actually do I have? What are my credentials? What is my life story? What's my fulfillment? And when you use that as your lens, I really do feel like you can't fail, because you will always have your why when you wake up, when you turn on the camera, when you set up your iPhone, when you go on to post something. It's not just, all right, what did Becky post, or what did John, oh shit, I gotta get shredded, or I gotta post booty shots, or I gotta do this trending thing, whatever. I don't ever really pay attention to that. I might look at it just to see if, like, is this still a thing? Yeah, all right, cool, people are insecure, ego's getting in the way, people are doing things for the wrong intention, or they don't really know why they're doing it. Again, I'm making all assumptions here, but it just becomes pretty clear to me as a creator now, and a full-time YouTuber and influencer and podcaster for over 3 years, doing it on my own. I left my job in 2017, late 2017. It's clear to me when people don't have their intention squared away, when they don't have their fulfillment, when they don't have their why. And I really do hope that that's what comes across here in this message today, is that, I thought I was going to be joining the military and staying in for 20 years. What a great deal. Join at 17, get out at 37. I could be retired and, go on to the next season of my life. But life had other plans. I tell people, I joke that I've been an overachiever and I retired after 6 years instead of 20. But the military taught me a lot. And if you're watching this and you are in the military, you're about to go in, or you just got out, don't forget that. It taught you a lot of things, and you have a lot of stories and a lot of experiences. Maybe some, like me, you can't really talk about because of that whole security clearance thing. But I promise you, your story matters. Your story is now able to be told in a time and a day and an age where we have the ability to film it with great quality picture and sound and multiple different angles, and like to do all this on your own. Like, yeah, I now have a videographer that I work with for bigger projects, but here I am at home by myself with a tripod on my DSLR camera and my iPhone propped up over here for sick angles, right? You don't need anything else. I filmed YouTube videos for years on my iPhone. My friend Rob Lipset, it's one of my favorite things. He's been on the podcast twice now. He would literally tape his iPhone up against the wall to film. The only thing stopping you from what you want is you. And so that's what I did. That's my story of going from full-time active duty Army, active duty soldier, to being broken physically and mentally, and deciding to rebuild my life, having to rebuild my life. I'm all hardware from the waist down, torn hamstring, L4, L5 vertebrae injuries. Both my hips have been completely reconstructed. I've got rods and pins. It's a mess down there. But life is good. I can't complain. I'm upright, I'm moving, I'm alive. I have all my limbs. I'm alive. Not all of my military friends can say that. Not all of them are here to be able to say that. So I'm eternally grateful, and I just want to remind you all out there, especially to my military friends, my brothers and my sisters in arms, there is a whole wide world out here for you. And yes, the transition can be hard, but reach out. Let me help you in any way possible. Reach out to you, veterans communities. Reach out to your community, your family. Reach out through a camera. Reach out through your iPhone. Start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, do whatever. Your story absolutely is waiting to be told. And that's how I did it. There's no glitz or glamour or, 6 figures in 6 weeks story, or, super secret mastermind that I attended that gave me all the answers. No, it was through hard work, and it was through realizing that the less I focus on trying to build somebody else's dream or mirror or copy somebody else's content, and focus more on what provides me fulfillment. What do I love doing? Why do I do it? And then I think it out loud. I talk it out loud. I write it down. I journal it. I do multiple takes on video. I do podcasts. Literally, there's no excuse anymore. And it's a beautiful thing out there when, especially the veterans, can tell their story, because, we get it. We connect with each other so quickly, typically. And so that's my story. That's how I went from active duty soldier to student to employee to full-time influencer and entrepreneur. Here we are in 2020, going into my 4th year of being self-employed, 4th year of running the podcast, and I run a coaching and consulting company. I run a podcast production and consulting company. Literally, the sky is the limit. Nothing is impossible except for when you get in your own way. And don't think that you don't have anything to say. I promise you that you do. Just tell your story. And if I could provide anything in closing here, other than, God, this coffee is so good. Like the L-theanine's kicking in. Ooh. Is to just hit record. Get creative. It's not going to be great the first time around. You're not going to make thousands of dollars for a post the first time around, but you can build relationships. You can exchange information. You can help somebody else's dream. They will help yours in return, the right people. I can tell you this, focus on relationship building, focus on yourself, focus on getting your story out, and don't let the ending of one story, don't let your medical discharge, your early termination, your transition, your ETS or whatever from the military, don't let losing a job stop you. Don't let deciding to quit, be the most terrifying thing in the world. It's not. I'm living proof, and I would love to help you in any way I can. Message me, DM me, whatever. What a time to be alive. I'll just say that. It's unreal what's possible. And so that's my story. If any of this resonated with you, and if you liked it, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want more future content like this, and let me know. Give me some feedback on just how you transitioned out of the military, how you left a job, or how you realized that, yes, creating content, video, posts, pictures, podcasts, whatever was your thing, and how are you getting better at telling your story? That's what I love most about this world right now. That's what I love most about my job. That's what I love most about you supporting us, supporting me, is that the story continues to be written every day. Now we just get to do it in a unique way. My name is Chase Chewning. I live a life ever forward, and that is exactly what you can expect to receive in all of my content. And thank you for watching. If you're new, like I said, make sure to subscribe for future content like this, and make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want more of. If you want more military stories, if anything resonated with you out of this, if I can help you in any way, let me know, let me know, let me know, let me know. All right? Thank you so much, guys. Ever forward.